A few days ago, right beside a trash bin, I found 3 tiny puppies covered completely in mud, so dirty that you couldn't even tell what color they originally were. They were just 3 small trembling lives huddled together in silence, as if the world had already forgotten them, and maybe it had, because whoever left them there clearly didn't expect anyone to come back, didn't expect it. When I first picked them up, they were cold, weak, and unbelievably small. Their bodies soft and fragile, their eyes not even fully clear yet, still carrying that faint bluish film that only very young puppies have, a sign that they had barely just opened their eyes to the world, and yet that world had already abandoned them. It's strange how life can be so unfair that early, but at the same, because despite everything, they were still breathing, still holding on, still waiting for something, maybe warmth, maybe food, maybe just a chance. After bringing them home, the first thing I did was clean them, gently washing away layers of dirt, mud, and whatever they had been lying in, and as the water ran down their tiny bodies, their true colors slowly appeared, soft fur hidden beneath all that grime, and suddenly, they didn't look like discarded lives anymore. They looked like what they truly were, 3 unbelievable. Once they were clean, something changed almost instantly. They relaxed, their bodies loosened, and before long they fell asleep. Deeply, completely, the kind of sleep that only comes when exhaustion finally meets safety. They slept so soundly that even when I gently touched them, they barely reacted, as if their little bodies were finally allowing themselves to rest after who knows how long. And all curled up together, it was impossible not to feel something soften inside. What made it even more amusing was the way they slept, each one in a completely different position. One stretched out awkwardly, another curled tightly into itself, and one even sleeping so deeply that its eyes rolled slightly upward, almost like it was dreaming. It was both funny and strangely comforting at the same time, because in those moments they looked peaceful. But reality always comes back, and with puppies this young, sleep doesn't last forever. Sooner or later they need to eat, and they need to relieve themselves, and that's when things become a bit more chaotic, because tiny puppies like these don't wait, they don't plan. When they need something, it happens immediately. And if you're not ready, you'll find yourself completely overwhelmed. Waking them up wasn't easy. They were so deeply asleep that even when I tried calling them, gently nudging them, they barely responded. It was almost funny. I even joked to myself that maybe that's why they ended up being abandoned, because they could sleep through anything. But jokes aside, I knew they needed to wake up, they needed to eat, to move, to stay healthy. One by one, I carefully lifted them, encouraging them to wake up, their tiny bodies slowly reacting, stretching, wobbling, their little legs not fully steady yet, but trying, always trying. And then came the feeding, the moment they seemed to understand best, because the second they smelled the milk, everything changed. Their instincts kicked in instantly. They rushed toward the source, clumsy but determined, their tiny mouths searching, their bodies pressing forward. And once they started drinking, there was no stopping them. They drank eagerly, almost desperately, as if afraid it might disappear, as if this moment might not last. And watching that, you couldn't help but wonder how long they had gone without proper feeding. But among the 3, each had a slightly different personality. One was more eager, always the first to react, another a bit calmer, slower but steady, and the smallest one, though weaker, had the strongest sucking instinct, clinging to the bottle with surprising determination, as if it refused to fall behind, as if it knew it had to fight just a little harder. Feeding them wasn't just about giving them milk. Sometimes after they finished, they would still cry softly, still searching, still not quite satisfied, so I had to use a bottle to supplement, making sure each one got enough, because at this stage, missing even a little could make a big difference. And slowly, day by day, I began to understand their rhythm. Time passed faster than I expected. By the 4th day, they had already gone through an entire container of milk powder, which honestly surprised me, because for such small bodies, their appetite was incredible. They ate a lot, got hungry quickly, and of course, that also meant they needed constant cleaning and care. It was exhausting at times, but also strangely fulfilling. What I noticed most was how quickly they started to recognize me. At first, it was subtle, just small movements, slight reactions, but soon when I called them or made a gesture, they would try to move toward me, their tiny steps unsteady but purposeful. And that moment, seeing them respond, seeing that connection begin to form, it made everything worth it. After feeding, I would let them move around a little, not too much, Just enough for them to explore, to feel the space, to get used to being somewhere safe, and then, just as quickly as they woke up, they would fall asleep again, full bellies, warm bodies pressed together, drifting off without a care. At night, things became quieter. They only cried when they were hungry, and once fed, they would settle down again. No unnecessary noise, no fuss, just simple needs, simple lives, and I realized that in a way, healthy puppies, even abandoned ones, are still easier to care for than we imagine, as long as you give them what they need. Sometimes I would just sit there and watch them sleep, noticing how they leaned into each other for warmth, how even without external heating, their small bodies created enough comfort together, and that kind of instinct, that quiet way of surviving, it's something deeply natural, something you can't help but respect. One of them, though, was always a bit more playful. Even when the others were asleep, it would still move around, exploring, nudging, sometimes even trying to suck on the ears of its siblings, which of course annoyed them. But it was harmless, just another sign of life, of energy returning. Eventually, even the most playful one would give in to sleep, and the room would fall into a soft, steady silence, broken only by the gentle breathing of three tiny lives that just days ago had nothing and now had a chance. Looking at them now, it's hard to imagine how they once lay in the dirt, unnoticed, unwanted, as if their existence didn't matter. Because now they are clean, fed, safe, and slowly growing stronger. And while the future is still uncertain, one thing is clear: they are no longer alone. And maybe that's all that truly matters. Because sometimes saving a life doesn't start with something big. It starts with noticing, with stopping, with choosing not to walk past something that others ignore, and then step by step, feeding, cleaning, staying, until that small act becomes something much bigger. Now, as they sleep peacefully, unaware of everything that has changed around them, I realize that this journey isn't just about them growing up. It's also about what it means to care, to take responsibility, to give without expecting anything in return. And tomorrow, when they wake up again, hungry, clumsy, and full of life, it'll be right there doing the same things all over again, because sometimes the simplest routines are the ones that matter the most. Good night, little ones.